Insurance-based companies. We are the benefits consultants and brokers for Rogers Memorial. So we've been working on your benefit plans for the last 4 or 5 years. And obviously, the last several years has been really digging into healthcare reform. It's actually probably occupied about 25% of my life for the last 3 years, just because it's constantly changing, employers have a lot of questions, just like Rogers does. So we're going to talk about, first of all, the state of healthcare, because really that's what drove the decision, or by the administration, to put in some healthcare reform. We're going to talk a little bit about healthcare reform. I'm going to talk about really how it impacts Rogers. There's so many different areas that healthcare reform does get into. It gets into the durable medical equipment manufacturers like GE. It affects the individual markets. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, just because we'd be here for 3 hours then. And then I'm going to talk about the healthcare exchanges, which are coming in 2014. So the state of healthcare, there's been a lot of news about the state of healthcare. If you've read any kind of studies, you've heard that the United States spends the most, but yet has some of the worst outcomes around the world. It's a little misleading, because what happens, we spend a lot due to a lot of different reasons. Our technology is probably the best around the world, and thus, because the technology is the greatest, we are keeping people alive a lot longer than other countries are, and thus some of the outcomes get affected. When you're 90 years old and you're going in for heart surgery, chances are you're not going to make it out of there, whereas in different countries you wouldn't even gotten to the age of 90. So besides that though, we do spend as a country $2.5 trillion on healthcare. It's one of the top 5 business sectors in the United States, and thus is actually a big budget line item for Rogers Memorial. It's probably in the top 3 after payroll and other operating expenses. So it is a big spend for companies and for the country. Now, this is going to continue to increase. I don't see any reason why this trend is going to reduce, why we're going to start seeing healthcare expenditures going down. It'll continue to get worse. The reason being is that we are an aging population. The baby boomers are coming into the retirement phase, and as we all know, as we age, we typically need to start using healthcare a little bit more than when we were in our 20s. So we're an aging population. The other reason costs are going to go up is because new technology and developments and R&D are going to continue to happen. And obviously the latest and greatest in technology always costs a lot, as long as, and what the technology will do is it'll provide greater outcomes, able to, solve and cure medical problems, keep us alive longer. The other thing too that is causing to the high spend here, and this is really kind of going to lead into healthcare reform a little bit, is the low reimbursement from government plans. That's Medicare and Medicaid. And I'm sure as your finance people know that reimbursements, I used to work at a hospital. That was part of my HR career. I worked at a hospital in Burlington, and we were getting about 50 cents on the dollar from Medicare. Well, obviously, if you're only getting 50 cents on the dollar, you have a loss in cost there. That's made up in different areas, charging back to group plans or individual insurance plans. So the fact that there's low reimbursement is also causing healthcare costs to increase. Construction and duplication of services. I mean, obviously we live in southeast Wisconsin. We know that there are hospitals going up on a regular basis. There's just one down the road that went up. Hospitals are expensive. My wife is the controller, was the controller for St. Joseph's in West Bend. They built a new hospital. I could not believe the cost, and I can't disclose it, but I cannot believe the cost that went into building that hospital. So it's a very expensive proposition. And if you look at the paper, every 6 months or so, there's information on medical rates that are going to be passed along, increases by hospitals. They also talk about, you can find out average number of beds being used on a regular basis, and there are no hospitals that are ever full to capacity. So we have more than enough access, but utilization is still low, and thus that also increases our overall costs.
Are the insurance companies required to identify what their profits are on an annual basis? Because they've had record-breaking profits in the past.
If they're publicly traded, it's something you can get your hands on. Yeah, it's out there in their financial disclosure. So you can find out, again, if the insurance company's publicly traded, all that's disclosed. And I can't speak for all insurance companies, but most are publicly traded. The last thing, which we're not going to spend a lot of time on, but I know there's information that Tony's going to talk about down the road, is wellness, unhealthy lifestyles. We as a nation are not healthy. We are actually one of the unhealthiest nations overall. Besides that, what happens is that when you don't have a healthy lifestyle, obviously it increases our cost of possibly being diabetic, developing heart disease, lung disease, all those other issues that go along. Again, that's not the focus of our talk today. Like I said, Tony will be talking, and we'll be talking about wellness down the road. The last thing I want to talk about is trend, and real quickly is that What you see in the paper sometimes when you talk about the cost of health going up, maybe 6%, 7%, that's not the true cost of healthcare. What that is, that's the Milwaukee Journal going out to employers and asking, what is your cost going up for next year? And they're just averaging that out. Now, we all know that the cost that the employers are passing along, there could have been plan design changes that might be reducing that cost. They might be actually shifting premiums where the employees are going to pay more for their health insurance to get to that 6 or 8%. The true cost of healthcare is taking into account these items that we talked about and what are hospitals, doctors, clinics, what are they increasing their rates by? For 2013, the trend was actually around 10%, and for 2012 it was 10.5%. It's been hovering between 10.5% and 10% for the last several years. I don't foresee it going up much for 2014. 2015 may be a different year after we had 1 year of healthcare reform in place. But for 2014, we're expecting the trend to be between that 10 and 11% threshold. And the reason trends report we'll talk about with self-funding later for Rogers, because that impacts the overall cost. So as we know, the majority of Americans today get their insurance through an employer, such as Rogers Memorial. There is a large segment, numbers vary between 12 and 20 million depending upon who you're talking to, of people who are uninsured today. But again, the majority of people are getting their insurance through their employer. Now, Rogers Memorial has a self-funded medical plan. There's two types of plans you can be self-funded or fully insured. Fully insured means you're buying your insurance from the insurance companies, and the insurance company charges a flat premium for single or family coverage, and that's what Rogers would pay, and the insurance company pays the claims. And hopefully, if the insurance company did their underwriting correctly, they would basically have about a 10% margin of difference between paying claims and collecting premium. That 10% is to cover their admin fees and, yes, have some profitability on the group. Rogers is self-funded, though. What that means is that they have hired a company called UMR, which it's on your ID cards, to actually process claims. So you go see a doctor, the claim comes into UMR, UMR processes that claim, determines what the actual dollar amount is owed to the doctor, sends payment out to the doctor, and then what they do is every week they reach into the checking account for Rogers Memorial and pull out all those claims that they paid. So in essence, Rogers Memorial is the insurance company. They are paying the claims. Okay? The reason that's important is that for you as a user of healthcare for Rogers Memorial is that you really are dictating the overall cost that's occurring at Rogers and also determining what the renewals look like for next year. So I was talking to somebody before this, I said if the health plan has low utilization and low cost, that means your renewal next year is going to be very good, it's going to be low. If you have high utilization and high claim costs, well that means you're going to have a higher than normal expected renewal on your premiums, and that means you as an employer are going to pay more. So we want to make sure that we understand self-funding versus fully insured, because when we get to the healthcare reform section, self-funded plans are treated differently than fully insured plans in healthcare reform. Self-funded plans actually have more protection from some of the rules of healthcare reform, some of the taxes and penalties that are out there versus the fully insured market. A lot of the stuff you're hearing in the news about these huge increases that are out there or might be coming, it's really for the fully insured market. It's not for self-funded groups. So just keep that in mind as we move on. Also, healthcare is what's changing in the United States is with healthcare reform. We've been working with Rogers, like I said, for several years. When healthcare reform passed in 2010, it's been actually 3 years that it's been around, we began working with senior management and HR to how do we insulate Rogers and protect Rogers Medical Plan from some of the impact of healthcare reform. There's still, I think we all heard like the story that there was over 2,000 pages in healthcare reform legislation and that it was, like this tall on someone's desk. The government is actually still issuing regulations as we speak. Parts of that 2,000-page document have not been determined as how to be administered, how Health and Human Services is going to apply it. So every week, we are always just waiting to see what's going to come out from HHS, that's Health and Human Services, on what's going to be affecting. So we're getting bits and pieces coming out. The majority of this stuff has been determined, but there's still some pretty big issues out there yet that are yet to be determined. And obviously what we're doing is we're working with Rogers to keep them informed. But also, you as a user of healthcare should also stay informed. You can get it from your news, you can go online, you can also get information from HR if you have any questions on what's going on with healthcare reform. So healthcare reform, the actual real name is the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, ACA for short. Healthcare reform is the slang. It did pass March 23rd of 2010, so it's been just over 3 years. It's hard to believe that I've been spending 3 years of my life on this topic, but it's gone by pretty fast actually. So there are some provisions that healthcare reform during the years have required Rogers to comply with, and I'm sure you're familiar with some of these because you've gotten the plan changes. One of the big ones is that children under the age of 26 can be covered. Don't have to be in college full-time, but would be covered under your plan, the parent's plan. That was a big one. That helped a lot of underage, or I should say underage, kids in their mid-20s, early 20s that maybe got out of college, didn't have a job, provided some level of health care coverage for them. So that was a good pickup right there. A lot of plans had like a lifetime maximum benefit built in. $1 million, $2 million was the lifetime maximum for some plans. Rogers had one of these lifetime maximums that had to go away. There's also going to be limits on what you are, for essential benefits, you're not going to be able to charge an annual limit either going forward. So like say you're going to be skilled nursing needs. Typically some places they have like a $5,000 annual limit. Well, that's going to go away in the future too. Pre-existing conditions. Right now it's for children under the age of 19. If you were to come on to Rogers Memorial Plan and you did not have prior health insurance coverage, there would be a pre-ex condition. What that means is that if you had an existing medical condition, the medical plan would not cover that condition for the next 12 months. Well, what healthcare reform did, which again I agree with was a great decision, was that children under the age of 19, the pre-ex goes away. Okay, so that again, you know, children should receive care if they have a health condition. We don't want them not receiving that care. Some things are behind the scenes. The appeals process changed. It means if you have a dispute with a claim, the appeal process has changed. That was behind the scenes. UMR, your claim examiner, has changed those rules. And then another good thing too, which is great for Rogers Memorial, is that preventive health care, your routine checkup, your annual checkup is now covered at 100% for everyone. So everyone every year should be going to see the doctor for your routine checkup, you know, getting that workup done. So that's covered out at 100%. Some changes that we just did for 2013 is that enhanced preventative care for women. This was not a big impact for Rogers Memorial because they already had a lot of that stuff in place to cover 100%. The only real change was that certain contraceptives, mostly generics, are now going to be covered at 100%. Okay? If you're taking a brand generic contraceptive and you're paying your copay or whatever, you may want to check into going to a generic and possibly getting that covered at 100%. A summary of benefits coverage. It was, if you went to the benefits fair in November, there was a summary of the medical plan. There was 2 of them. They were like that light blue color document, several pages long. You would have picked those up. That is a standardized document across the United States that all employers, insurance companies have the exact same document. The purpose of this is that if you have coverage here and your spouse has access to coverage someplace else, you can easily compare the 2 plan designs. Prior to that, it was very difficult to do. And I admit, I'm in this business and I looked at some plan docs and I tell you, they're written poorly. And it's hard to decipher what the information is in there. So again, another good move that helps you as the consumer decide, do I want to stay on Rogers' plan or do I maybe switch to a different plan? So that was a nice benefit there. Also, if you saw your W-2, you probably noticed a new box on there that showed what the value of the medical coverage is. This is strictly informational for the government at this point in time. Not sure what they're going to do with it in the future. There's lots of speculation, but I'm not here to speculate. So just suffice to say that that's going to be going on every year. You're going to see that dollar amount on your W-2. And then the one thing is, it did affect some employers, is the health FSA limit was reduced to $2,500. Before, employers could choose any amount that they wanted. There was no cap. Now there's a cap of $2,500 as the maximum amount. For most people, that is a sufficient amount of dollars to put into an FSA account. And then another thing that's really kind of behind the scenes that doesn't impact very many people is that the Medicare tax was increased by 0.9% for income earners over $200,000 for single and $250,000 for family. Again, that is to help fund some of the costs of health care reform. That's why that tax was increased. Now, for 2014, January 1 for you guys, because that's when your plan renews, there are going to be some changes that we're going to have to deal with. One of them is, currently today, there are people who are uninsured. Some are by choice, believe it or not. There are people out there who do not want to buy health insurance. It's usually the guy that's 22 years old, and invincible and thinks he doesn't need health insurance. He doesn't want to pay the premium every month. Well, come 2014, technically everyone is supposed to have health insurance coverage, either through your employer or through the government exchanges, the state exchanges. You need to have health insurance. But there's still the opt-out provision available if you do not want to have that insurance coverage. You can opt out and pay either $95 per adult or 1% of your income as a penalty on your tax return. So come by April 15th of 2015, if you didn't have health insurance in 2014, you would be paying that $95, and there's no way to get around it because the IRS is going to be looking for you to provide evidence of health insurance coverage. That's part of the reason the W-2 is on there, so that is on there for your protection. Now, just as a side note, if you just think about this logically, if say I'm young again and I'm 22 years old, relatively healthy, and I'm thinking, okay, I can either buy insurance for myself, which would probably run about $400 or $500 a month for a decent plan. If I get a real cheapo plan, maybe $300 a month. Okay, I'm over $3,000 in a year for health insurance, or do I just pay the $95? You make that decision. So the reason this is important is that the way health insurance works is that premiums are collected, claims are paid out. Obviously, like I said before, the older we get, the more insurance we consume and we use more. The younger we are, we typically don't consume it. The laws of underwriting state that if you have a lot of people who are using health insurance, we need people to be paying premium not using health insurance to offset those costs and somewhere get to a manageable expense. If we don't have the young, healthy folks paying premium for health insurance, and all we have is I don't want to say sick and unhealthy, but people who are consuming health insurance, we have a gap, and there's an issue at hand. That is the big issue that's going to hit in 2014 on these exchanges, is that you're going to have people who need insurance signing up, but those who don't, when they see the price, are probably not going to, and that's going to cause a problem. Maybe not right away, but eventually from an underwriting standpoint, it's going to be an issue. So the good news is that you guys are insulated from that. You're protected, being self-funded, having your own plan through Rogers Memorial. The exchanges in Wisconsin, as you probably have heard, Wisconsin will have a federal exchange, which means that the government is going to run the exchange. The exchanges are supposed to be running January 1st, and we are told that they will be up and running regardless of any situations that are going on. I believe they'll be up and running by January 1st. I just don't think they're going to be running really well, okay? So suffice to say that if an individual wants to go out to the exchange and buy health insurance, they can do that. You as an employee could decide, you know what, I don't want Rogers plan anymore. I want to go out to the exchange and buy health insurance. You have that option to do that come January. The one thing to keep in mind on the exchange is that individuals who their income is less than 400% of poverty. Now let's just look at that as a single person. If you make less than $46,000 a year as a single person, you would be just at that 400% threshold, okay? So the 46,000 or less would be eligible possibly for a subsidy on the exchange, okay? Which means the government's going to give you some money to help you buy insurance. That's what the subsidy stands for.
Does that include if you're retired?
Retired too, yeah, exactly, both. It doesn't matter if you're, over 65, under 65. For a family of four, just as an example, family of four at 400% is $96,000 a year in income. Now, it obviously ranges, those numbers will change based on the number of people in your family. So that's something that's out there for people who maybe don't have insurance today, can go to the exchange, they can get some money from the government if they're under that 400% of poverty to help cover the cost of the insurance. I would say that for Rogers right now, as an FYI, we did the analysis that since Rogers plans are considered affordable, and that's a whole different section I'll get into a little bit later, there would be no government subsidy available for any Rogers employee, which means that if you went out to the exchange, you're going to be paying the full cost of that health insurance on the exchange. Suffice to say, the cost here at Rogers is going to be less than out in the exchange. Yes.
Chris, now when you have the, the exchanges next year, will like Badger Care go away?
Not
Will they
necessarily.
continue to have that?
It hasn't been decided yet. The state has not decided what they're going to do with Badger Care. I would think eventually it might, but not for 1/1/14, just because I think the state is going to realize that come January, the exchanges, like I said, are not going to be running very well. So they're probably going to keep the dual options out there for people who are on Badger Care currently. I would not be surprised if Badger Care does go away though down the road.
Was that just indigenous to Wisconsin, Badger Care?
Every state has a Badger Care type of program.
Oh, similar, but there may be a different name.
Yeah, different.
The other question I wanted to ask is, if you're retired, can you use an exchange as your supplement with Medicare and then use that as a supplement?
You could buy additional coverage on the exchange, or you could still do it the regular way where you contact Anthem directly and just say, hey, I want to buy Medicare supplement insurance from them. You're going to have to determine what's going to be the best option, because the pricing on the exchange will be different than the pricing if you call the insurance companies directly and not go through the exchange. And we'll talk about the exchanges in a little bit. I'll give you some insight that we have right now, because we have been talking to United Healthcare, Humana, WPS, and Anthem about what they're going to do with the exchanges. There are what's called pay or play. I don't know if you heard that terminology at all out there, but what that means is that employers have the option to either continue to provide health insurance to their employees, or they can drop coverage, no longer offer it, and they would pay a $2,000 penalty. I'm sure you've all heard that $2,000 penalty thrown around out there. There's also some tax liability that goes along with dropping your health insurance, which I'm not going to get into. So that is the pay portion. The play portion is employers will continue to offer health insurance to their employees and just keep moving forward with healthcare reform off onto the side. Each employer is going to make that determination. I can tell you that in talking with my clients, who are typically 100 employees or larger, no one is really considering dropping their health insurance coverage for 2014. They're going to continue to offer coverage to their employees for various reasons. One, the exchanges are going to be expensive. There's just no way around it. It's going to be very costly to buy your insurance out on the exchange. Two, recruitment and retention. If you don't offer insurance, you may lose some key employees, and employers don't want to be losing key employees. So for right now, at least how it stands, I think we've been reading surveys that said about 20% of employers in the United States are going to probably drop their health insurance coverage. And that is, if you look at that 20%, it's majority of them are a small group, under 50 employees that just can't afford to provide coverage any longer. I think most larger employers are going to continue to provide insurance coverage, but that may change down the road in 2, 3, 4 years. That could be a totally different scenario. But as it stands right now for 2014, I don't foresee a lot of impact in that regards. Other key changes is that currently Rogers has, I believe, Tony, is it 32 hours a week is considered eligible for insurance?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So what will happen is that from January 1st, that'll drop down to 30 hours. So those folks who are regularly scheduled to work 30 hours a week will be able to pick up insurance coverage through Rogers Memorial. The other thing that's going to happen too, which another change will be, is that the pre-X, remember I talked about pre-X for children at age 19? Well, now it goes away for adults from January 1st. So pre-existing conditions will no longer exist anywhere on any insurance plans, whether it be the exchange or through your employer. So if you, it doesn't affect you guys because you're already on the plans, but any new hires coming in will not have to deal with a pre-existing condition clause. Auto enrollment, this is on hold right now. The Department of Labor has not issued the regulations on how this should be handled, but down the road, what's going to happen is that employers are going to be required, employers over 200 lives, are going to be required to automatically enroll people into their health insurance plan, and employees are going to have to then opt out that they don't want that coverage. So it's on hold for now. It's not going to happen for 2014. It'll probably be sometime in 2015 that they'll put this out, because there's a lot of rules you got to follow. Obviously, you're going to start taking money out of people's paychecks, and you got to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed before they start rolling this kind of option out.
I have a question.
Sure.
Like on the HR side, so if they opt out, do they have to prove that they're getting insurance through their spouse or through the exchange, or?
That's a good
Is it
question.
Rogers' responsibility to make sure that they are getting coverage, or if they're not, they have to pay that $95?
Yeah, so today, there is no requirement for Rogers to get evidence from somebody that they have other coverage. That could be one of those opt-out rules that if someone's going to drop out, they have to provide other coverage, or at least sign a waiver saying that they are going to go uninsured and then would be subject to the $95 tax on their tax return. But I would think, who knows what the Department of Labor is going to do. It's 50-50 right now whether they require Rogers to track that kind of stuff. The waiting period of 90 days doesn't affect you guys again because you're already here and available for the plan. But for a new hire, it would mean that someone who starts today within 90 calendar days would have to be eligible for insurance coverage on that date. Okay. So again, most employers have less than 90-day waiting periods. Some employers have first of the month after 90 days. They will have to adjust their waiting periods to something different, like maybe the first of the month after 60 days, or maybe right on the 90th day. But it's not an impact for Rogers Memorial. There'll be coverage for clinical trial participation, so anyone that goes up for a clinical trial, any of the costs that are not covered by that clinical trial would be subject to Rogers Memorial Plan. And then the guarantee issue is only on fully insured, doesn't affect you guys, but there are groups that sometimes, especially in the small group market, if they're fully insured, they have a really bad claim year, they can be denied coverage. The existing insurance company would say, you know what, we're not even gonna issue a quote, we're just gonna drop you. And then that small company's out, going out to the market space trying to find insurance coverage. So it only affects the fully insured world, not really the self-funded world at all. So here's the stuff that is gonna impact you guys for 2014. The penalties and fees or taxes, whatever you wanna call them, and there's a lot of different names on them. These are costs that healthcare reform has mandated even self-funded plans have to pay. Fully insured plans have these taxes and penalties, but they also have a lot more to deal with. But for Rogers Memorial, these are the only two that we have to work with for 2014. One right now is the patient-centered outcomes research fee. What that fee is for, it's $1 per person on the plan. So it's $1 for you, your spouse, your children, and in 2015 it goes to $2 a person. Rogers Memorial will be paying that sometime in July, hopefully that'll be the date that's going to get paid out. What the fee is for is the government's going to collect this fee, and they're going to use it to research how to better deliver health care in the United States. That is the intent of that fee. There is no sunset clause on that fee. It'll be $2 going forward every year after that. So again, it's not a huge expense to the plan when you consider there's, I can't remember exactly, I think it's, a little over a couple $1,000 that the fee will be paid. So it's not a huge expense to Rogers Memorial, but it's still something that's going to be built into the cost of delivering your healthcare plan. The bigger cost is going to be employers have to pay into a reinsurance fee or pool for healthcare exchanges. What this means is that when the exchanges open up in 2014, there's not going to be a whole lot of cash reserves there to pay for large claims. Some people will have, they'll go to the exchange, they'll use their insurance for normal stuff, but there may be some people that might develop severely large claims, like may need a heart transplant. That's $850,000 right there. Those large claims need a pool of money to pay for it, and that's that reinsurance pool. So what happens is that every employer, every insurance plan is going to pay this fee out to the government for, it's a $25 billion fee over the next 3 years. So it's going to be, for 2014, it's going to be actually about $12 billion is going to be collected, and it's going to whittle down over the next 3 years, and it's supposed to go away in 3 years' time. So it's a temporary fee. The cost is $63 per member per plan year. So again, it's per employee, per spouse, per child. And right now, just based on current enrollment, we're estimating that fee to be about $60,000 that Rogers is going to be paying into the reinsurance pool for 2014. And then again, for 2015, the rate should go down technically because, like I said, the $25 billion, they'll need less dollars. We don't have a 2015 fee yet, but like I said, it should be less than the $63. So that is a cost that's going to be obviously built into the plan, and since it's self-funded, that means you're picking up part of that cost, because what happens is that the claims and the admin fees are all put together. Rogers pays 80% of the cost, and you as an employee pay 20% of the overall cost. So again, not big dollars, but at the end of the day, it's still an admin plan cost. It's about a 1% cost to your overall increase for next year. So between these two fees here, you're looking at about a 1% starting out the gate. So you're already at 1% for 2014. These are the only fees the self-funded plans are facing. Fully insured is about 8 to 10% in fees. So if you're a fully insured plan, you could be looking at, you're starting at 8 to 10% and then going on from there. So again, being self-funded is going to pay off rewards for Rogers Memorial. The individual mandate, we kind of covered this already a little bit, that individuals are required to have coverage. We have the fees we talked about. In 2014, it's $95. You can see that in 2015 and 2016, it starts to ratchet up a little bit. But at the end of the day, in 2016, $695 a year is still a lot cheaper than paying and buying insurance, even through your employer and even on the exchanges. So again, the problem we're going to have is that we need the young folks to be buying health insurance coverage to help offset the costs that are out there. So again, this could change. I mean, all this stuff from here on out is still somewhat flexible yet. So we'll see how things shake out in the next couple of years. The healthcare exchanges. There's not a lot of information on this right now, unfortunately. You would think that since these are opening up in less than 8 months, that there would be a lot of information out there, but unfortunately, there isn't. What we do know so far is that the state of Wisconsin, we'll focus on the state of Wisconsin, because every state is different, is going to be using the federal exchange. There are some things you should understand. If you hear these terms out there, I'm going to go through them so you understand what they are. Community rating, based on community areas, like Madison is going to be a community, the Milwaukee area is going to be a community, the Valley is going to be a community. You're going to be rated based on your community. And what that means is they're going to look at the pool of people coming in, and they're going to say, okay, well, here's the top end of our rate for the unhealthiest, most unhealthiest person, and here's our healthiest rate for the youngest person, probably that doesn't have a lot of claims. And the rating is going to vary by area, through geographical area. So wherever you're going to be buying your insurance on the exchange, you could see different rates for the exact same plan design. But again, it's based on that pool of people in the community rating. Guaranteed issue. If you go to the exchange, you cannot be declined for coverage. They have to offer you insurance. So that's good and bad in a way. The good thing is that you, as a person going out there, know you're going to get insurance. There are people today that cannot pick up insurance because they have a health condition. So this is going to resolve that issue. The downside is that if you're the insurance company out on the exchange, knowing that you're going to be picking up risk, it's unknown at this time. How do you rate for this? How do you decide what your premiums are going to be? Because you don't know who's going to come to you and want insurance. You can't decline them, and you cannot adversely impact their rates. Because the community rating says, here's your range. So in the past, what happened is that if there was a person that, say for instance, I had a kidney transplant 3 months ago and I want to buy insurance, I would typically have been declined in the past, but now they have to offer me coverage. They would probably rate me really high, charge a high premium because I'm going to have a lot of claims. Now they can't do that. So even though this guaranteed issue is a good thing, it's going to cause some concerns by the insurance companies out there. Premium and cost sharing subsidies, those are the exchanges that we talked about with the government. The governments are going to give you dollars to buy health insurance as long as you're below that 400% poverty level. The farther you are below that 400%, the more money you're going to get. It's a tiered rating. So at 100% of poverty is where you're going to get the most money from the government. Then it goes to 133, then it goes to 200, and it just keeps ratcheting up. So the lower income you have, the more money you're going to get from the government to help cover the cost of insurance. We do not know what the cost of the insurance is going to be in the exchange yet, because we don't even know who's going to participate in the exchanges just yet. As I said earlier, we were talking with some of the major insurance carriers in the state of Wisconsin. The only one I know of for certain, and even that is still somewhat questionable, is WPS might be on the exchange. United Healthcare has not committed to being on the exchanges. Anthem has not committed to being on the exchanges. And Humana has not committed to be on the exchanges. So,
Can we require them to be on the exchange?
no, cannot require
And
that.
how can they sell the other plans, their non-plans per year?
Well, a lot of those insurance companies are selling to groups, employers. I mean, they're selling those plans. They can still continue to offer to sell an individual product just not on the exchange. The question is, will they continue to do that even? They may just get out of the individual market altogether. So that's a lot of the big questions out there. And again, it comes back to the guaranteed issue and the community rating. The insurance companies, obviously, they gotta make a profit. We all know that they have to. How much of that profit, is determined, but the issue they're gonna have is they do not know the risk they're taking on. If you don't know the risk, the underwriters aren't sure what to charge for a premium. So it's almost a catch-22. You're kind of chasing yourself here, like, well, I wanna get in the exchange, but I don't know if I can charge, how do I know if I charge enough premium so I don't lose money on the exchange? Because what happens in the following years, in years 2015, 2016, if you're on the exchange, the government says that you cannot increase your rates by more than 10%, or you need to get authorization from the government. And I can tell you that if I was an insurance company, if I needed to pass along a 13% overall book of business increase, and I gotta go to the government to get that 13%, I'm probably not gonna get it, So there's some concern there on that part. So we've been talking to the presidents of United Healthcare, Anthem, and just seeing what are you guys thinking. They haven't made a decision yet. They want to see a little bit more how the exchanges are going to operate. They need a little more rules from the government to figure out exactly how these things are going to work before they commit. Increased plan choice, that'll be another option that's going to be out there, is that you as an individual today, you have a pretty good selection of plan options. If you were to go out individually and buy insurance, that will still continue to be the case on the exchanges. Each company is going to have different each plans. Like United Healthcare will have different plan designs than Anthem versus Humana. And then for the regional health insurers like Dean and Group Health and Network Health Plan that are in those geographical areas, they'll have different plan designs. So theoretically, someone going out to the exchange can pretty much find a plan that's going to fit their needs. And so that's how the exchanges are set today. We don't know exactly, like I said, who's going to participate. We don't know what the pricing is going to be. We don't know what the plan designs are going to look like just as yet. There's a lot of unknowns right now, which is making our lives a little more difficult because obviously people are asking what's going to look like, and we're just like, well, we don't really know yet.
I know you said you're not here to speculate, but do you see possibly one of the bigger insurance companies like eating up, Beam Care and just all these little companies, they're just not gonna make it and they're gonna be, eaten up by one big one, and we'll have monopoly, and we'll have the state, and we'll have the exchange, and then we'll have,
Yeah.
self-funding like we have,
That's a good question. As it stands right now, that's a good question, I don't know. The regional carriers like Dean and Group Health and Network Health Plan, they are profitable already today. If they decide not to participate in the exchange, they'll still be offering insurance coverage to employer-based, which is most of their coverage is employer-based. Theoretically, they could still remain profitable. Would they have to sell to one of the big guys? Maybe not. You're speculating down the road, and that's a good question, because we thought the same thing. We've been talking, well, are these little guys going to survive? Are some of them going to make it? And the ones that are not profitable right now probably won't make it going forward. Okay.
Chris, real quick, we got about 5 minutes.
Okay, we'll move along here. So this is just an example of the exchange. Individuals, and actually, I didn't even talk about the small groups because it doesn't really affect you guys, but small groups under 50 employees could go up to the exchange and buy their insurance on the exchange also. So the exchange is going to work as a buffer between the carriers, and what those colors mean, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and catastrophic, that is the terminology provided to certain plan designs. A bronze level plan is going to pay about 60% of the overall healthcare costs. Silver is going to pay 70%, gold 80%, platinum 90%, and then catastrophic is really just something that's going to be bare bones, covering you if something really bad happens. So those are set by the government that if you're going to offer plans on the exchange, they have to fall in those categories there. So employees can say, well, I want to look at a silver level plan. They're going to know they're going to be looking at a 70% plan. It makes it easier for you as a consumer to figure out what's this plan going to pay versus trying to figure out deductibles and out-of-pockets. Lastly, a couple things here. We talked about, these are the numbers I talked about with the 40% of poverty level, 46,000 and 95,000. There are, for a silver plan, this is what the government released about a month ago. They said that the deductible for a silver plan is going to be about $2,000 for an individual, $4,000 for a family. Out of pocket, that's your worst case scenario. This is, once you pay this amount, plans are typically covered 100%. $4,000 for individual, $8,000 for family. That's a silver level plan. That was like the second lowest tier out there. This is not confirmed. I don't know if you should even say this because this is going to be on video forever, but the government just basically released, and for a bronze level plan, which is a step below this, for a family of 4, it's estimated to cost $20,000 a year on the exchange. Again, that's not confirmed. I'm saying right now for the video, it's not been confirmed yet. But that is what the government released about a month ago, saying that might be the cost for a family of 4 getting the bronze level coverage. So I think a lot of people understand the healthcare reform. The exchanges are going to be a place to find affordable, cheap coverage. That's not going to be the case. The exchanges are not going to be, for most people, they're not going to be affordable. That's why I was talking about Rogers plan up front, because you guys have a nice situation here. You've got a plan that's got some great level of benefits, better benefits than most of my clients are offered, and the rates that you guys are paying are actually below the norm too. So that's why I don't want to scare you guys, because realistically, Rogers is in a good spot.
Just a question, who are the exchanges intended for if we have those people that can't afford insurance already, and this is so high, it just doesn't make sense?
Well, again, the subsidies, the people under 40% are going to get a government subsidy. It's going to help offset that. It's the individuals that are over those thresholds right here, get no government subsidy. That's a good question. What are they going to do? Hopefully they're working for somebody that's providing health insurance coverage. A couple changes. There's going to be, for the initial enrollment period begins October 1st for the exchange. So later this summer, early fall, Tony's going to be sending out a notice about the exchanges. Whether or not that October 1st date still hits, we don't know yet, but that's what the government is saying right now. And then every year after that's going to be October through December. And like I said, Wisconsin's going to use the federal exchange. Did I finish in time? Okay. Any other questions at all that anyone has? I'll also stick around later too to answer any questions.
If this is, you kind of carrying on what you said, if this is happening, it all has to happen by January 1. I'm retiring in November,
Mhm.
and they told me to just buy Cobra for a month, because my wife's not 65.
Okay.
So in January, she's gonna have to go under the government subsidy plan.
Well, do you have, is she covered under Rogers plan today with you?
Yes, under family,
Yeah, so when you go to Cobra, you can still continue that family coverage.
yes.
Yeah.
But I want to drop the Cobra because I'll be on Medicare.
Oh, and you have her go out to the exchange.
I'm gonna be 66. So,
You just can't retire. Sorry.
No, so yeah, so once you lose coverage, you can go out to the exchange, and once she can go out to the exchange and look for coverage out
but
there.
as you said, they haven't even figured out what they're doing with the exchanges yet.
Yep.
Are we really gonna be ready on October 1 to enroll my wife for an exchange program starting in January?
That I can't speak to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing, I mean, it's, you know, we're told the feds will have the plan up and running by 1/1. I believe it'll be running by 1/1. It, like I said, just may not be running really well. There may be some confusion, it may be, you know, a little lengthy time process to get stuff set up. So what I would do is, in November, you said you're retiring, I would begin the process then for a January 1 date on the exchange.
That's what we're looking at, yeah.
Yeah. There should be information out there. I mean, I don't doubt there won't be information. It's just, I don't know what the information will
Look
look like.
like you asked your insurance man. I called Anthem, Anthem came out,
Yeah.
they had no answers. They didn't
No,
know.
no one does yet. We're waiting for the government. We need regulations from the government, we need guidance from the government at this point in time. So my guess is in June and July, there's gonna be a flurry of activity out of Health and Human Services on the exchange. There's gonna be a lot of information coming out.
This was all very general.
Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna take a question from the guys on the phone, then we'll come back. Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Go ahead.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, calling from West Dallas. Okay, I understand that no insurance company is required to participate in the exchanges. And what happens if nobody plays?
If none of the insurance companies participate, the feds will be doing a Medicare type program, Medicaid type program. So they'll be offering plans out there. So there will be plans to pick from. They'll just be federal government plans.
Is that like first?
No, it'll probably look a lot more similar to, yeah, Medicaid, Medicare type of plan design. I shouldn't say Medicare, Medicaid type plan designs like Badger Care. They'll offer the plan designs, they'll fall into those brackets, so you'll have that bronze level option, the silver level option, and the gold. So if you want to buy a plan that pays 90% of your overall plan cost, that will be an option out there for you. I'll say that it's probably not going to be cheap, but it will be an option out there for you to have access to. I do believe there'll be some insurance companies that will participate on the exchange. We just don't know who's going to do it yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just felt that it's all very generic. Will the level of our benefits change?
When does
From
Rogers Plan
2014?
make its decision on what the
I
costs
mean,
are?
I'm not looking at cost money-wise, I'm looking at the benefit level. Will that stay the same? Will we get the same benefits? Obviously, it's gonna increase in cost. But will the benefit level, we didn't really talk anything about that.
At this point in time, I mean, it's still early yet for 1/1, but just in talking with, you know, Tony and the other HR folks, there's no intention of changing plans A and B. But we gotta see what the costs look like for next year. Obviously, if the cost increase are gonna go up dramatically, we may have to think about it. I know there's been talk about maybe offering another third plan option, a more affordable plan option out there, and that might happen. So like I said, it just really comes down to, healthcare reform is not gonna force Rogers to make drastic plan design changes, let's just put it that way. Okay.
When will we have an answer to that?
Typically, we make final decisions in September, October-ish, and then obviously it gets communicated out.
Because you're gonna have to have something for open enrollment and meeting this,
Right,
till the
that's what-
first deadline, so.
Right.
Yeah.
You can rest assured that there will be some decisions made, you know, well enough in advance so that people can make good decisions.
Yeah. The issue is that there's, you know, as far as, what we try to do is, from projecting claim costs, we want to capture as much claims in 2013 to help project forward for 2014. So if we do it too soon, we may not capture enough claims, and what if there's all of a sudden, like, good months that we just didn't put into the calculation. So we typically don't lock down anything until like the early October. Now, we might do something in late September, just kind of say, okay, here's where things are looking to be. But again, keep in mind, the enrollment period for the exchanges is October through December. So there's plenty of time from, like, say, if we have information out in October, you'll have plenty of time to go out to the exchange and see if that's something that you want to take a look at.
I have another question. In the past, we didn't have to re-enroll if we were enrolled, we didn't want to make any changes. Will that happen, or will we all have to re-enroll come October 1st?
I don't have any idea on that, but I'll look into that one as well, okay?
I mean, before it was always just automatic, if we
Right.
didn't want changes,
It
we
kind
were
of leads to
just
that
at
question
the level
of,
we were before.
Yeah, it kind of leads to everyone having to have insurance, so, you know, good question you bring up there, so I'll look into that. and See if there's an answer out there now, there may not be an answer now, so we'll find
Well,
out.
it's possible, but I just,
Question.
I want to, know about the future.
Yep, we have someone on the phone has a question.
One more. On the other side of the business, here in Rogers, we have partners in behavioral health. Also, we are a psychiatric hospital. Our patients all have insurance. Does the health exchanges, does that matter at all with mental health coverage? And us staying this, or is this just another source of just more possible people that have insurance that might come here?
Well, currently today, there's the Mental Health Parity Act that requires employers to provide a level of benefits for mental health the same as inpatient, regular inpatient, outpatient, or office visits. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. As for the exchanges, I would assume the insurance companies would have to comply with that level of coverage. I would also, I'm assuming, so don't quote me on this, I'm assuming if the feds are going to provide their benefit plans, are also going to have to comply with that Mental Health Parity Act. So the short answer is, I don't see it changing. We have no indication that it's going to change, so, but until we see the actual plan designs, we can't say for certain.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, well, one more question, and then we're gonna, oh, you done? Okay.
Anyone on the phone have a question?
Besides Bob?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, guys.
Thank you guys for coming to our first Lunch and Learn. Again, stay tuned, okay?
You're
Thank you.
right, today is a full moon. Yep,
Yeah,
must be.
we'll just wait.